Hey guys, so I wanted to show you how to utilize all the tools that I had on my tray with shaping a client's brows. So I have my beautiful model Sophie here, and it's really nice to have them come in with their makeup already done so you can see the color that they're used to, the shape that they're used to, and it gives you like a good starting point on how to design their brows versus just going into it blindly. So she came in with her makeup on. She's a pretty dark color, almost black, and she has more of this like soft, like rounded shape on this side. This side's a little bit more angled, and so we're going to remove her makeup and then make sure we clean it with some alcohol afterwards to make sure it's nice and sanitary. So now that we've removed her makeup, we're going to make sure to clean with an alcohol pad. If I was going to actually microblade her today, I would make sure her entire underneath her eye, her forehead, everything is nice and clean. But we're just going to be shaping her today, so I'm just going to use that on her brows. We're going to start with finding the middle part of her face. So you have to eyeball this. So I'm using her eyes, her nose, her mouth to find that middle part. And you have to eyeball it. There's no way to really do this other than eyeballing it, so just take your time. I like that second line I just made up here, so I'm going to make sure it just follows all the way down. And this is so important that you really take your time with this because everything else you design is going to be based off of it. So making sure that I like this. Yes, I think that looks really good. I have all these crazy lines everywhere else. Try to be a little cleaner than I am so your clients don't leave all these black lines all over their face. Fixed her up. There we go. All right, so let me take a look at that. I like it for right now. I might change it later, but for right to start, I think that looks good. I think it might need to go slightly over. If I'm looking at the bridge of her nose, it looks like it's slightly to the left. So let me actually place another one right here. And I think I like that better. If you look at that second line, I think that is actually more symmetrical. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the other one. It's okay if you have to do this like 5 million times. Your clients are going to want to make sure that they have symmetrical brows as well, so they'll appreciate it. So take your time and make sure you find that middle part of her face correctly. So I actually kind of went in between both of those, and I like that a lot more. Okay, now that we have her middle, and I'm happy with that, we're gonna find where they should start. And so you can utilize the string, or you can use your brow marker and go into that little divot in their nose right there and just go straight up. Same thing on this side, straight up. And they might not be the same, and that's okay. You can figure out which one you want to use. So this one looks a little closer in, and as you can see, this one, she actually has hair that is closer in. So I like this one. I want to use as much hair as possible, and I like where her eyebrows are starting. So I'm going to measure out how far this one is to the middle. See, this is why that middle line has to be so perfect, because you're using it for all these other measurements. So this is about 9 millimeters apart. And if I go over here, see how it's like maybe 1 millimeter off? So I'm gonna move this line in about 1 millimeter, which is about right here. And I'm gonna move this one up a little bit more just so I can see. That looks really even to me. I like that. It's utilizing her hair in the front. So cool, I feel good about that. Now I'm gonna figure out how tall they should be. So I'm using her hair that she has, and I'm just gonna make a straight line across. I'm gonna do the same on the bottom. This brow is a little taller than this one. This one is a little, I guess, taller on the bottom. This one's a little taller on the top. So we're gonna even those out. And then another measurement that I like to do while I have them sitting up is the highest point of the arch. So very top of where they have hair, but sometimes they will have hair way into their forehead. So you don't always want to go where they have the hair, but I'm gonna find a point that I think should be the highest point of her arch, and I'm gonna do a straight line across her face. Wiggle my string back and forth. I have a straight line across her face, and then I'm going to find her endpoints by using the end of her nose, her eye, and just go straight up there. All right, now we have her start, the highest point of her arch, and her end. I'm not gonna put in her actual arch point. I can, and you can do this. Because her arches are a little different, I wanna see things laying down and determine where I wanna place that by using my tools and by just designing something when she's a little bit more relaxed. But at least I have the highest point of her arch, and I can actually put on a ruler now if I want to use a ruler to determine where everything starts and arches and ends, or I can use my rulers or my calipers. Let me grab a sticky ruler to show you guys. All right, so we have my sticky ruler here, and I'm gonna use that middle line I created and my start points of the head of her brow and place that straight across. And now I can use this to make sure that everything is symmetrical. And I will show you how to do this with her laying down. So I'll go. Okay, so we can go a few different routes right now with how to shape her brows. We can utilize this ruler, and you can see that her start point where I want her brows to start is right here at the head section, and it's 1 over from the A. And this one is about the same, 1 over from the A. It's actually on the A. So see that? 1 over from the A and on the A. But we liked these with her sitting up. So this is where the ruler can get a little tricky. You have to determine if your lines are measured correctly, or sometimes we're just not perfectly symmetrical, but it could be because my middle line was off. I do like where these start. I'm gonna look at her eyes. I'm looking at her tear duct and this tear duct, and I'm looking at the bridge of her nose. I do think that this one can afford to move over a little bit, or we could even move this one over. It just depends on how close she prefers them. I always err for the side of caution, and I'm a little bit more conservative. So I'm gonna move this one just over a smidgen. So I'm erasing it by using alcohol on this little dove foot, or you can use little cotton swabs too. And I'm gonna put this line back in where it is on this side, 1 over from the A, 1 over from the A, and place it right there. That does actually look more symmetrical when you look at these boxes. They look more even now. Put that line back in, put that line back in. All right, so now that we have that measured out, we can go over here, and this is where it's saying her arch should be, generally around here. So you can use what the ruler says for you to do, and you could place it somewhere in between there, but like, where do you place it? It's gonna change the whole brow depending on where you place it in here. So I don't really like using these for the arch to determine where it should be, but I will use this to make sure my arches are the same on both sides. So I can take this off and use it later. So I'll take it off, and I always joke with my clients that they get a brow wax, complimentary. And so now we can go and find where her arch should be, because we do have this little tool, which is called the golden ratio caliper, and we can determine where they start and where they end. So these lines, the 1 and the 3, should be where they start and where they end. So that's pretty on. So now you can lay it more flat. Be careful not to move it at all. And you can put her arch right there which if you see where her hair is growing, that looks pretty accurate. So we can do the same on the other side. Usually I don't like to move it, and I want to make sure I didn't move it. So there we go. We can do the same on the other side and put the arch in. I'm going to just make sure for good measure that they were even, or the same length, I should say. These ones are a little bit longer, which it can happen because, you know, we measured these, you know, from her nose, and it's a long distance, so we might want to keep them the way they are. We might want to shorten it. All right, so this one is measuring about right there for her arch, which looks about accurate as well with where her brow hair is lying. So let's do away with that guy, and let's use this one to see how long each brow is. So this one is about, you can see there's all these tools are necessary in order to double, triple check your work. So this is like about at 50. And this one is actually at 52. So it just had to do with how the caliber, I guess, was laying. So this is what you can then go back and take your ruler. Since I'm getting two different measurements from the calibers and the black plastic ruler, put that back on. And I can see that this one is arched right at the, in between the beginning line of the arch and the second one, and this one is like right before. So I'm gonna move this one just over. I like for the arch to kind of go a little bit further out, so if I'm in between two sizes, I will always like go to the side that maybe has the arch a little bit further out. So I like her arch better right there, and that's probably why she was having a hard time making her arches even when she had her makeup on. One was a little bit more rounded than the other, probably because of this exact issue that we're having here. So okay, here we go. We have her arches, and now we get to map the design. So I feel good about all these measurements now. I triple checked everything, and now I'm going to create her stencil. So we're gonna use this little area right here. So how these two lines connect in this little corner, we're gonna connect from here to here. So I'm gonna place this line back in so I can see what I'm doing. And we're gonna go from here and make a straight line up to that line. There we go. And we're gonna do the same over here. Actually, I'll bring this through to the middle, and we're gonna hit this corner, and this corner now. So from here to here to here. All right, now I'm gonna do the arches. So Sophie, which brow did you like more? Did you know which brow you like more? Do you like the more rounded brow? Do you like a more rounded arch, or do you like a more angled arch?
I like more of an angled arch.
Okay. So since she likes more of the angled arch, I'm going to go with more of her angled brow. And I'm going to take the very tip of that arch, and I'm just going to meet it down to that end point. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side. You can pull this line all the way up. See where it meets in the middle right there? Could reinforce that line. It should meet in the middle. And now I'm going to do the same over there. All right. Now we're going to do the bottom portion of her eyebrow. So I'm looking at both. This one's a little bit thicker than this one. So I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to have my string hit that little corner right there, and I'm going to angle it up. I want it to be parallel with that top line, but I do want it to slightly go up right here. And so then I will also do the tail. So I'm going to start at the very tip corner, and I'm going to meet You can see there's a little bit of a disconnect, and that's okay. I like it like that because then I go back in with my pencil and I will smooth this out. This ensures you get a little bit of lift in the arch. And you don't want a line this thick. So what you want to do is once you have that in, you want to take some of your alcohol and go in and just really lightly clean up that line and make it as thin as possible so you can really see what you're doing and get accurate microblading strokes. Okay, so now we have that. I'm gonna clean up the rest of this brow. I'm gonna soften that angle up at the top. Take off some of these lines, and I'm gonna assess and see if I like this design before I continue on to the other side. We'll do noise cancellation in the background. So I have to do these videos before everyone gets here. All right, so we're just cleaning up. This is why you need a really nice sharp pencil so you can just go in there and just get those nice sharp lines so there's no question where you're placing your needle. All right, I feel really good about the way that this one is designed. I like it. I think this is what she's going for. It has all of her hair in here. It's gonna be really nice with the microblading. It arches really nicely. It's on her brow bone. So this is looking good. So now I'm gonna move over to the other side and match it. So all I have to do is the same thing I just did by connecting the lines. So I'm gonna take this corner and I'm gonna angle it up. So I'm like shooting a little bit higher because I don't want it to be like a saggy canopy. That's what happens sometimes with this bottom line. If you try to make it exactly straight and parallel with the top, it will like look thicker in there and you don't want that. So I will kind of pull up her brow if you can and then kind of angle it up. It still kind of did that saggy canopy on this one, but we could fix that. And reinforce that. I'm gonna go here and do her tail. So what I'll do, since I know it already is like a little saggy canopy right there, I'm going to remove some of it and then I'll use my pencil to fill it in. I can also take my string and go from over here, the lowest point of her arch, and bring it straight over, and it is right on. So we're doing good. We just need to get that bottom line corrected. So I'm gonna lift up her brow and just make sure that this line angles up a little bit versus hangs, because that's not a good look. We don't want a thicker head or thicker body of the brow than any other point. All right, so I like that. I'm just gonna clean up some of the lines. All right, so we're gonna clean up some of these lines, make sure everything is nice and flowy. Extend this one out just a tiny bit. I like this on her. I think she will like that too. So I'd send that out a little bit and I'm gonna clean her up. I kind of like to remove the fronts a little bit. When I show my clients and they have these boxes, it kind of scares them. So I kind of take away a little bit where I can kind of see, but they can't see those really thick, dark lines. So I think this is looking good, but I want to say this one might look a little thinner. It does look a little thinner. So I know she likes them a little thinner, so I'm actually going to adjust this one. So we're going to keep that one the way it is, and I'm going to adjust just the top of this one. You can leave it and just adjust it thinner, or you can remove a little bit of it like I just did. And what I'm going to do is place that line again towards the middle. I could still kind of see my middle line, but I'm going to put that back in and make sure, see that's a little bit thinner than it was. So this looks more symmetrical now and even. And I think that she'll like them a little bit thinner like that. I'm gonna go back in and reinforce my design. So this, you wanna stretch the skin really, really good. And you very lightly wanna do tiny little marks just to make sure your outline really stays on for multiple reasons. If you're gonna put numbing on after this, you can. You could do a pre-numb or you can numb after shaping. If you're numbing after shaping, you definitely wanna do this. And if you also think that your stretch is going to mess up your design, you'd also wanna do this. So you just wanna go in and just darken up that outline. All right, that's a nice and smooth outline. So that's how dark you want it. And you can go in and thin this out even more with alcohol. I'm gonna do the same on the other side. And then we're gonna make sure that she likes them. And I will do so by having her sit up, look in multiple mirrors. Sometimes the clients get, like, I don't know, they won't want to tell you that they don't like it or they don't even know. But I encourage them to go use the restroom so they could take a look, because you want to make sure they feel 100% confident about it. It can be a shock to some clients because it is an outline. So these are going to be a lot softer and thinner than what is actually going to be done, or than what they look like right now. Cleaning that up, I made a little mistake. And I'm gonna go back down over here and darken up this one.
On this side? Yeah, I needed to like up here a little bit. Around. Well, oh, do you want to take it up? No, I'm just asking. What are you saying? No, I mean when I originally drew it, it was too like short. You know what I mean? I made it longer when I drew it. Oh, yeah, I like that better because it more like gives it a little hug. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like trying in my brain trying to like pick this up and put it over there, and I was like, does that look dumb? I bet this looks.
Okay, I'm just gonna clean up that last little line right there. And so you could also clean up the client's brow hairs that are outside of the shape, or you can wait till they see them and make sure they like them before removing, because you don't want to remove any hairs that you want to keep. So here it is in all its glory, Sophie's brow shape. Let's have her take a look and see what she thinks. And you could be honest with me, Sophie, not just because we're doing a video. You don't have to like them. You could tell me if you think anything looks off.
Wow. Oh, I like them. I would never be able to do this myself.
Well, it just took me like 30 minutes, so.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes I'll go in and also do some pre-mapping. So I might draw in a few strokes for them to help me see what direction I want to microblade in, what pattern I want to use. So I'm gonna kind of just add, and then I'll put in where they need to start transitioning. So then here, I'm gonna make sure my stroke goes into the art or into that transition, and then now after that, they're gonna start going down. You don't want to do too many of these because then it gets a little messy, but it helps you stay a little focused with what you're doing on the brows. So I like that. And then on the bottom, since these are transitioning down, we just need to make sure that everything starts curving down when you get to right here. Same over here. All right, there we go. That is a proper brow shape. And one more thing before you start, you'll want to take your Sharpie marker and you'll want to put them a little bit further apart. You don't want them too close. You want to see what you're doing, but you want to just kind of reinforce by putting this Sharpie marker over her shape so that it locks it in place and you don't have to worry about, if you smudge the design, seeing where you need to go. These dots keep you focused. Do you want me to clean up your brow hairs? Or
You can if you want to.
Are you keeping them or you just haven't done them?
I just haven't done them.
Oh, okay, let me clean them up then. All right, I'll clean up her brow hairs that are outside of her shape. So you want to get the skin taut and then just go up into the line. And down here, pull her skin taut and go against the hairs. Right up to the line. Now she's all nice and clean on that side. Do the same on the other. we go. They're all nice and clean and ready to be microbladed.